Participating at this Berlin peer review has been very interesting because the program that was reviewed was a very complete program. It covered many fields and everyone involved was highly motivated. It was very nice to see how everyone put so much effort and emotion and feeling into finding employment for people.
The main issue with networks is the immaterial quality aspect and how you capture that in evaluation or in assessing a program. Because it is regarded as an immaterial element, it can be often very difficult to show the value. And because you can't show the value, this way of working often suffers in mainstream programs. So we were just focusing on how do you capture the elements of the positive elements of network working in a way that can be combined with program output way of approaching standards and programs. There were 4 specific recommendations, and I suppose one of the first is that we've often had programs with partnership working or networking which are but which did not have a focus on outputs and performance. In other words, management by objective, I think, is the technical term. But what it really means is that what you measure is not the inputs or the processes, but what the program achieves in this case in terms of over 50s who've been long-term unemployed, how they've been re-engaged into employment, actual employment, not mid-term steps. So we say it's essential that the outcomes of the project be very clearly identified. In other words, that it's to get people into employment, also the nature of that employment, the quality of it, the sustainability of the jobs, whatever, these things must be identified. Flowing from that, because of the issues of competitiveness, of what is value for money, what is an efficient way of using public services, all big political questions. We said that it would be good during the programme through this formative evaluation system, to track the comparative impact or the comparative performance of these 50+ networks compared to what the private sector employment agencies are delivering for the same target group. In other words, for people over 50 who are long-term unemployed. And it would be good from a performance point of view to track these 2 aspects. Another then aspect, which also is very much focused on the networking one, was also a tracking recommendation that during the course of the program, because program 50+ is a quite different type of forms of delivery in different parts of Germany, sometimes through a broad network, sometimes through a more leaner, narrower network, sometimes really just through one agency. So we thought what should be tracked and measured as we go along is the relative performance of the network-based programs where the partners in the networks have operative roles compared to what we call single contract delivery. In other words, where just one agency is basically involved. And lastly, our 4th recommendation is a process to capture the value, the added value of the network approach, if it emerges that the network approach is the more efficient. But again, not in soft terms, but in hard terms. So that you use the implements that the programme provide, for example, the regional network meetings and these conferences, and which specifically draw out the added impact, added value that the networking approach has produced in different regions of Germany.
I was in the working group which discussed the general approach of Perspective 50+ program, and we discussed on the one side the methodology aspects, such things like empowerment, what is the concrete method the mediators apply when they work with the older long-term unemployed. We discussed, but also the policy approach. So what is the difference of the Perspective 50+ program to the regular labor market programs in Germany? And we discussed also the question of age, so more the question of demographic change. So to say the relation between Perspective 50 Plus and the whole society. What is the impact on the society, or how does the society impact the 50 Plus program? So the first recommendation is that we should evaluate the Perspective 50 Plus program also in the third phase, because there are so many elements which are important for mainstreaming of the program, that we should evaluate these elements which can have impact in a positive way. Second point was that we discussed the good practice collection, and maybe this collection of good practice in the different pacts can replace in a certain way an evaluation. And we discussed further elements on these issues of evaluation and of mainstreaming. So we are now in the 50 Plus program in the phase of mainstreaming. And for me it was very interesting that our colleagues from the transnational countries, from our partner countries, that they reflected more on quality of the approach than on the quantity. So to say, the Perspective 50 Plus program is now very much determined by quantitative figures. How many integrations, how many activations. And the question is, what is the quality of labor places where the people will be placed or are placed in? Another part of our recommendations touched the general relation to the society, the relation between 50 Plus and the society. What means old? So the recommendation here is to be aware that the meaning of being old is different in times. So when you are 58 in the 60s is another thing than you are 58 today. And that we should reflect in the program more this change, this demographic change, and in particular the meaning of age in this change.
Apart from enjoying a lot from all this sharing of information, I learned the importance of having an active and enriched network. A network in which partners collaborate, work together, and give ideas, bring new ideas. I think it's very, very important for the good results and impact of a measure or any type of practice in order to improve or create employment.